There has been a resurgence of whimsical coded hobbies, trends, and aesthetics, particularly amongst Gen Z. But what if I told you this obsession with romanticization of life was no mere coincidence, but rooted in psychology? A pattern which has repeated itself throughout history, because whimsy is neither new nor superficial. It is the key to understanding human psyche. Now, you might be wondering, why is she even talking about this? Fair question, it's quite a niche topic. I so happen to embody the Venn diagram of what we're going to discuss today. I'm a Gen Z hypnotherapist whose entire channel is about decoding cartoons and anime for psychological insights. I am a chaos crocheter and avid watcher of Homocrat Season 11. All that to say that there is a pattern I have observed online, one I recognize and am participating in myself. So, what is whimsy exactly? My initial assumption was that whimsical was synonymous with fantastical, unique, magical, otherworldly, pretty much Luna Lovegood coded. But when I actually looked up the definition, I was surprised because it is much more negative than what I had initially thought and what I assume you also think. So whimsical, is a term that stems from 17th century England, and it initially referred to fanciful, capricious behavior, often associated with playful thoughts. And the more modern definition also reflects that. After coming through a couple of dictionaries, this is what I found for the word whimsical. It is a capricious humor disposition, an extravagant, fanciful, odd, and excessively playful expression. You might have noticed it is not exactly complimentary or positive, because it is not. And so I was a little bit befuddled because this is not where I thought whimsy was going to be, because when we think about whimsy nowadays, I mean, fairycore and what I just said doesn't seem to match at all. After looking through other online dictionaries, I found one that does lean more towards what we think of whimsy, at least I speak as a Gen Zer. And so on dictionary.net, whimsical refers to imaginative delight, impulsive decisions, fantastical creativity, and playful triviality. I don't know about you, but if we were to regroup all of those dimensions of what the word whimsy means, this oddly sounds like we're describing a child. In a way, you could say that whimsical, is actually childish, childlike. Now, depending on which side of the spectrum we're at, it could be negative or it could be more positive. This is where the connection to the inner child begins, one we're going to talk about soon, but not right now, because we actually have to now explain why humans are so obsessed with whimsy. And yes, it is completely old news. If you're still watching this video and enjoying it, I would ask a small favor from you, which is to like this video. It really helps with the algorithm and sharing this video out into the world. If you have paid attention to the world, you will have noticed that this resurgence of whimsy, of wanting a simpler life but a more fanciful one, a focus on self-expression and creativity, happened after COVID. This is no coincidence, because if you turn back the clock and look at history, there are at least 3 movements that you couldn't point at that actually mirrored what is going on right now. In the 60s, 70s, there was a counterculture But there was also the Back to the Land movement, which was wanting to get in touch with nature, live a simpler life, and reject consumerism. Does it not sound familiar? In the mid-19th century, there was the arts and crafts movement, which was brought by social upheavals of the Victorian era because of the Industrial Revolution. And this movement emphasized natural materials, craftsmanship, and artisan labor. Does it not sound familiar? And if we turn back the clock even more, we have in the 18th century to 19th century the Romantic movement, which was an artistic and intellectual movement that emerged to counteract the rationalism of the Enlightenment, the industrialization. And this movement emphasized emotion, imagination, individualism, and connection with nature. Does it not sound oddly familiar? Now, I am sure we could find even more examples of this phenomenon, but clearly, from what is going on right now, what happened with the whole Back to the Land movement in the 60s and 70s, with the arts and craft movements of the mid-19th century, and the Romantic movement of the 18th to 19th century, every time there is social upheaval, creatives and intellectuals create a movement to counteract those societal expectations. This is a form of rebellion, of rejection of the culture. And is that not what is going on today with whimsical obsession with whimsy, of alternative aesthetics and things as such? There's also this whole Gen Z rejecting the current model of work that has been talked about, and it does fit into what I have just said. There is a return to the individual, especially in this AI era. There is a focus on individualism, originality, creativity, craftsmanship. Art is becoming more important than it has been in the past couple decades. This is why we are so obsessed with whimsy right now. This is a reclaiming of our identity. It is a rebellion against the societal pressures, and it is a way to find freedom within that. So subscribe if you haven't and really like the topics I talk about on the channel. Remember when I mentioned that we were going to talk about the inner child? Well, that time has come. We have already looked at why the obsession with whimsy occurs. It's because of social upheaval of some kind, and so a whimsical movement counter emerges from that. We know why it happens, but how does it actually influence people on a psychological level? You could think it's a form of nostalgia, but semantically it's not exactly correct. It would be much closer to anemoia, which is the feeling of nostalgia for a time you have never personally experienced. In this case, a time of safety emotionally, physically, and financially. These are very uncertain times that we live in, and so every time there are times such as these, whimsical movements naturally follow. And it is a good thing. It is actually to defend oneself, to protect oneself, that this is naturally the thing we turn to. We're trying to be safe as a society, as a group of people. And so this is actually something that I encourage if you had not noticed. I mean, my channel is entirely based on the concept of being whimsy. So it's like I wouldn't be the one to say, oh, whimsy is bad. No, being delusional is bad, being whimsical is not. Now, to explain why exactly being whimsical is actually good and healthy for you, I need to talk about a concept in psychology called the inner child. And for those of you who have heard the term before on the channel, I have spoken about it, not extensively, I do not believe, but this is also a concept that is used in hypnotherapy as well, and which I also have dealt with before as a hypnotherapist. The inner child is a metaphor for the emotional, psychological aspects of one's childhood that continue to influence this individual who we're talking about well into their adult thoughts, feelings, and behavior. So I have given previous examples of, like, if you have a phobia of water, I had one, by the way, which is why I'm giving this example. It might not be because, like, you drowned necessarily, and I know it's an extreme example that I'm giving, and in the end, actually, mine was not at all related. I was never in danger of drowning, but there were some things that happened in my childhood that were somewhat connected to water that, and in the end, made me afraid of it. So the concept of the inner child is pretty well known in psychology circles. And what being whimsical can do is basically healing the inner child. So healing the inner child is something you can do with a psychologist, a therapist, a hypnotherapist, or by yourself. And being whimsical, embodying childlike qualities, healing your childhood now into adulthood is actually a very practical way of doing that, of healing yourself. I'm not saying be childish, I'm saying be childlike. Have curiosity and wonder for the world. Be curious about yourself and why you act the way you do, or you think the way you do. Be more in tune with yourself, with who you are, what you like, and be more honest with yourself. That is what being whimsical allows. And as I said, being whimsical and being disillusional, two different things. I'm saying go for it, be whimsical. I'm not saying be disillusional. Don't mistake that. And of course, to be more whimsical, there could be different ways of doing that. And this is actually what we're going to talk about right now. This is a bit more of a different video that I usually do. Tell me what you think of it in the comments. I would really appreciate it. I am not going to be telling you what it is that you must do, because it goes against the spirit, the essence of being whimsical at its core. It's being whimsical and inviting whimsy into your life is finding ways to connect more authentically to yourself. So there are several ways you could do this. It could take the form of journaling. It could take the form of expressing your identity and yourself through fashion. You will notice this is a dimension that I have approached. The pillars of being whimsical are: be true to yourself, experiment, be open, and be creative. And again, the way you do this depends, but every action you're gonna make and you're gonna do is going to contribute to healing your inner child. So another way to look at it is, whatever you were not allowed to do as a child, give yourself permission to do that. Whoever you were not allowed to be as a child, allow yourself to be that person now as an adult. It can be a creative pursuit, as it just can be a trait of your personality that you were not allowed to express. For example, connected to fashion once more, and creativity, I've started crocheting and I've done this top. And this is something that, you know, I have customized to what I want, and I want it to be, well, this is kind of the topic of the video, but very whimsical. And so it's a very whimsical top. And if you don't know what you like, go and explore that. If you don't know who you are, go and explore that. You're not going to find yourself in a vacuum. The point of inviting whimsy is to go and seek out the little things in your life. the small pleasures. Gratefulness, sometimes it can sound a little bit like very guru thing to say, is another thing, like finding things that you're grateful for. It could be, well, the weather's pretty nice today. I'm actually really grateful for it. That's actually something that I'm thinking about right now, because I am such in a low mood when the weather is heavy that I'm just so happy when I see the sun, because it feels like I am energized, you know? It can be, I am so grateful that, for like, my mom had this and now I am able to wear something that my grandmother made, that my mom wore, and now I'm wearing it. Notice the small things. Purposely seek out the small moments that make you happy and focus, give them some importance, because you know the brain is very like negatively wired. Like if one bad thing happens in your day, that's the one thing you remember. So you kind of need to make an effort to counteract all of that. And so it's like, oh, sun's out today, I like that. Or, oh, I've got a pretty top on today, I like that. By the way, this is, again, I'm giving these examples because that's actually how I roll. Such as the hairstyle, like I don't look half bad in it. Didn't really expect it, you know. It's not something I do every day. It's like a mix between Princess Leia and Queen Victoria, kind of like hairstyle, but you know. Find those small moments and be authentically you as much as you can. And if you have made it all the way through this video, thank you so much. Please put green heart in the comments for the greenish blue necklace I've got on to tell me that you're one of the ones that made it to the end. And do stick around to watch this video next, because I do think you're gonna like it if you have enjoyed this one.